main strategies in commercial property to accelerate your wealth. And the reason that we talk about these three main strategies is because one of those strategies or a hybrid of those two strategies is going to be working for you in this current market based on your situation. Now, of course, if you want to find out more about how that relates to you on a personal basis, you should definitely attend one of our events or click the link and book in a strategy one-on-one session so we can explore how this impacts you on global in the next 2, 3, and 10 years down the track and how soon you can retire. But let's get started. Now, three main strategies. This is the Unikorn foundation that we have built our company, but also created wealth for literally hundreds and thousands of everyday Australians, and you too can get that. And it is really realistic, and in any market it works. It just needs a little tweak, right? So we start off with cash flow. Why do we start off with cash flow? Because that is the foundation of your property portfolio. Without cash flow, you are going to go nowhere. I know that right now you might think, oh, well, the money's being squeezed out of the system, right? You know, I used to be able to get 3% interest rate and I used to be able to get 6% yield, and voila, I've got my cash flow. But today, if I'm buying in Metro, I'm breaking even. Yes, today. But remember, cash flow is something you accumulate, and multiple avenues of cash flow is where you become successful and where you go the next level and you can retire passively, right? So if you are having a cash deposit, you want to be investing that into a metro area because it's got the back end growth and it flows onto the second strategy. If you are doing 100% finance, so you're drawing the equity down from your current property, you want to go to regional. You need to hit a 7% yield, and you need to hit a 7% yield, but in a secure, large regional town where it's got established history, multiple drivers in terms of the economy and tenants, and seek for a property that is easily tenantable or versatile enough to change around, right? And what that will do is build a foundation. If you don't build your foundation right in your property portfolio, it's going to topple. Just like everything else, it will topple. So build it right, and you will find that it will start to layer on top of each other. So number one, we look for cash flow. So whether that is 8% yielding property in Mackay or whether that is a 6% yielding property in Brisbane, because you're putting in cash, it's all about your individual situation, but we start with cash flow. And if you think that, okay, I've got cash flow in my residential portfolio, so I don't need cash flow anymore, you would be wrong, because the residential portfolio, you've got cash flow because of either the amount of years you've owned it or the amount of money you've topped in. By paying off a residential property and for it to give you 3 or 4% in rentals, and then you have to take out your outgoings and you end up in hand about 2.5% net, is a shitty investment. Don't do it, because if you use the same amount of money, whether that's $500 or $1 million, and you transition it to commercial, you would double your returns in cash flow, right? So don't think just because you pay down a property or you've got lots of capital in a property, that's going to be great. It ain't going to be. So what I do suggest is that you do build the cash flow, and for you, where you can individualize it, it might be regional, it might be fringe, it might be metro. So depending on your situation, we can individualize this for you in a strategy session. So do click the link below and book that strategy session now. Now, number two is about growth. And you might think that, okay, I've got growth covered because I've got residential property. That's fine. If you've got residential property, you don't need to do growth. But what you need to do is focus on manufactured growth. That is very different. You cannot get that same amount of growth, manufactured growth, right now in your residential property as you would do in your commercial property. And the reason for that is, in your residential property right now, it's going sideways. The interest rate is too high and people are too negative. They are not being able to get that same uplift. And if they go and do a knockdown rebuild or do a duplex, what they're finding is the land value has gone up, the cost of build has gone up, tradespeople's costs have gone up, and that's eaten away at the margins. So what you need to do is look at creating ways of doing uplift in the commercial property space. And that takes education, learning, and joining a community. So all you have to do is join the community, click the link below, join the community. And when you join that community, it is the most important thing, because you learn how to do those uplifts, right? You have to learn to do those uplifts, because if you're young, no matter what age, this is the time, and you can create growth by doing that. So that's the number two strategy. And you want to learn that? You click the link below, join us for one of our events, and let us show you how, especially one of our live events. And then once you've got your growth covered, you want to go to number three. The number three thing is about creating that uplift. So your cash flow, your growth leads up to this uplift, right? And this is where we start to hone in, whether that's a syndicated group deal, whether it's a development, whether it is with 2, 3, 4 people, or whether you're doing it on your own. It can be as small as changing the rents up and down, right? It can be as small as that, or it can be as big as knocking it down and building a new warehouse or self-storage facility or a new medical center, right? It is about creating now our next level of uplift, right? Where you are actually going to position yourself for. This is where your gains are in 2, 3, 4 years time. You're looking for land and properties that is going to hold its value, then no matter what happens in the future, that land value, doesn't matter whether build today or 3 years time, is only going to go up, and the rate per square meter in terms of rentals are only going to go up. So this is your 3 core strategies. You get those 3 cores right, and you are going to be able to succeed in any kind of interest environment, any kind of market, any kind of volatility, because any one time you use one of those 3 things, if the market is really, really good, the interest rate is low, you chase cash flow. If we have no cash flow, then you go for growth. You go for growth, either a set and forget growth or a manufactured growth, right? A little tweaks, right? You go for growth because growth will come on the back end when there is no cash flow. And then you want to set yourself up with the uplift in the back end. So maybe that's putting yourself on for a development land you might develop in 3 to 5 years, a rundown property that you might knock down and rebuild, or a property that's on short leases that in the next 9 months or 2 years you are going to put in a new tenant, right? There is so many ways. If you set yourself up, it's like a bowling pin. You knock them down, you end up with more cash flow, more growth, and you continue to do it, rinse and repeat. But you do need a good team behind you. You do need mentorship. You do need education. It is not for the faint-hearted. If you get things wrong in commercial property, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars versus hundreds of dollars. So click the link below, register for one of our events, book in for that strategy call. Let us help you build that cash flow rich portfolio through commercial property using the 3 fundamental strategies that is the Unikorn system. So make sure if you are looking at properties, there's different ways to assess it depending on whether you're doing your cash flow, your growth, or your uplift strategy, right? Until next time, hit the bell, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.